Hello, folks, and welcome back if you've been with us before, or welcome for the first time if you haven't. The church calls this weekend the fourth Sunday of Pentecost. We're on the second of a series on the fruit of the Spirit, so we're going to be talking about joy this weekend. I'm going to be reading from the Gospel of John, the second chapter, verses 1 through 11. On the third day, there was a marriage at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus also was invited to the marriage with his disciples. Now when the wine failed, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." Jesus said to her, "Oh, woman, what have you to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now 6 stone jars were standing there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the steward of the feast." So they took it. And when the steward of the feast tasted the water now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn it knew, the steward of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Every man serves the good wine first, and then when men have drunk freely, then the poor wine, but you've kept the good wine until now." This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. May God help us not only to hear the words, but to hear in them what is good, what is true, what is beautiful, that we may become the same. Better, more authentic, more comely in our society. Now, we just finished reading the story of the miracle that Jesus did at the wedding in Cana of Galilee. The story of a miracle. And pray tell, what was the miracle? What was the miracle? I'm not trying to be thick-headed. I can do that without trying. I'm asking because we would ordinarily say that the wedding that happened at the wedding in Cana in Galilee was that Jesus turned water into wine. Sounds like it makes enough sense. It's certainly not something we see every day, or at least it's not something that we see every day. But to a vineyard owner, the only miracle Jesus performed was to speed up a process that happens naturally. And yes, a process that does sort of happen every day. Rain falls from the sky, it penetrates the soil, it makes nutrients available to the root of the vine, and then those nutrients rise through the vine and into the branches, and before long, grapes. And then after fermentation, wine. Water turns into wine. It just doesn't ordinarily happen in one afternoon, does it? So sure, it was impressive, and maybe we should take the miracle as a sort of seeing is believing sort of thing, as in seeing Jesus do these things, this chemical process, or walking on water, or healing a man born blind, or even raising his friend from the dead, as if seeing these things makes us believe that Jesus really did have magical powers, that he really was God's Son. It could be that these miracles are just meant to be proofs of the divinity of Jesus. Maybe. But I suspect that the miracle wasn't about anything that we could necessarily even see with our own eyes. I suspect that the miracle is about being seen and about being transformed, about being changed, about dying and rising. Look again what happened in a culture where weddings lasted for a week. This one was a few days old already, and the wine ran out. The wine ran out, aside from the obvious fact that they couldn't just run down the street to the liquor store and pick up a few more cases. This was a major source of shame for the bridegroom. I can almost hear the neighbors saying, "What kind of man is this anyway? He didn't just go through the good wine and end up serving us the nasty old dregs. He ran out altogether. What kind of a guy does that? And as you know, shame has a way of sticking to you. Years later, those same neighbors would remember, oh, you know Yitzhak. Yeah, you know him. He's the guy who couldn't figure out how to get enough wine for his own wedding. And the couple would become known as the pair who were so rude as to treat their guests to dregs and water, and their children, well, anytime they ran short of, well, anything, it would be said of them, well, you can't blame them. You know, their parents never knew how to provide. I suppose I could be fancy and call it a major social faux pas, but the truth is the groom was as ashamed as you might be if you were forced to walk down Main Street naked in the St. Patrick's Day parade. The miracle? The miracle was that the bridegroom was seen. He was seen. Jesus saw him, saw his shame, saw his future, saw down to his soul, saw his tomorrows, saw him kicking himself for his miscalculation, for his stubborn unwillingness to borrow the money to buy enough wine, for his not listening to his wife who warned him. Jesus saw the man's broken soul. And the miracle isn't so much about the conversion of water into wine as the transformation from shame into praise. Well, you got the story down, don't you? A few days into the wedding, many of the first-line guests had gone back to their homes. Now, who was coming were distant cousins, either distant by relationship or distant by just statute miles. The local laborers, second and third string guests, those kinds of folks. And then the steward takes the groom's hand in front of everybody and raises it in the air and says, hey, look, this guy saved the best wine for you. What kind of mensch he must be. L'chaim, let's drink. Shame into praise. Contempt into joy. And there you go. There you go. The fruit of the Spirit is joy. Redemptive joy, the joy that takes someone who is about to become a nobody and puts him on the top of the heap of everybody. The joy that Jesus came to give abundantly so that the cups run over with wine with 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150 gallons of wine. The joy that nobody would ever be able to take away. Shame turned into praise, the glory of God. Joy, 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 joy down in his heart. That's what the story said. And what does it say? I think it invites us. It invites us first to tell the truth to the voices that speak shame to you. In fact, to talk back to them. You've heard the voices. You can't sing. You can't manage your weight. You can't get picked anywhere but last on the playground. You can't overcome your unibrow. You can't have a child of your own. You can't control your kids. Can't even get a B on your report card. Couldn't make the starting team. Couldn't hold a spouse. Can't keep a decent job. Couldn't keep your husband alive. Can't maintain your house. Miserable, accusing voices out there in the world, invading your consciousness, lying to you. It's terribly hard to drown them out, but you can start by facing them and telling them they're lying. You're lying. They're lying to you, these voices of shame. You are a child of God. You, my friend, are a child of God. Can you say it with me? I am a child of God. I am a child of God. If anybody asks you who I am, tell them. Tell them I'm a child of God. God made you beautiful. And that is indeed just who you are. And then, if you don't mind my saying it, you yourselves are water being turned into wine. You are being changed from glory into glory. You are growing out of shame into praise. That sort of thing in human beings, as it does with grapes, it happens slowly. Well, far more slowly than it does with grapes, actually. More slowly than raindrops into Riesling. But I see it happening. I see it happening in you. I'm not pretending to be Jesus here, don't get me wrong, but I am your pastor, and I do notice how your lives unfold over time. From shame to praise. And I'm not just talking about the gangly middle schooler turning into a gracious bridegroom or bride. I mean how you put together the scattered puzzle pieces of broken relationships, and you put them back together into a beautiful, albeit altered, picture of life. I'm talking about how you climb out of the shadow of death into a new and tempered light. I'm talking about how you overcome the transition from working life into a new life and a sense of purpose. I'm talking about how the sacrifices that you made in raising children bear fruit in the next generation and the one beyond. Friends, you are living the glory of God every day. You are turning shame into praise. God is redeeming you in joy even now. This isn't just something that could happen. This is what's happening. This is what is now happening within you. Beloved, turn and look at someone you love. And when you look at them, see them as water turning into wine, as shame turning into praise. Behold, behold, behold in them the fruit of the Spirit, joy. Next week, the fruit of the Spirit will be peace. So come on back next week and find us, and we'll have a few words to say about that. For now, God bless and be well.